Labour has said it plans to spend £1.8 billion over 5 years as part of their Green Prosperity Plan if they win the next general election. That's after they were forced to U-turn on their previous £28 billion a year pledge.
So they'll be hoping the announcement serves as some distraction from the continued questions that have been raised over the party's Deputy Leader's tax affairs. Well, we're joined now by the Shadow Energy Security and Net Zero Secretary, Ed Miliband. Good to speak to you this morning, Mr Miliband. I mean, the government is also looking at improving the situation for ports, isn't it? They have their proposal. Just explain to me, I'm sure it's good for the people who live in that port, but just explain to me why this is good for the climate and the environment, investing in ports in this way, in your view.
Good to be with you, Kate and Ed. The announcement that we're making, and I'm here at Teesport today, is the £1.8 billion investment that Ed mentioned. It's the biggest investment in our ports since privatisation. The crucial thing, why am I here talking about this, Kate? The crucial thing for our country is that there are huge numbers, hundreds of thousands of jobs in the renewable industries of the future, making the wind turbines and so on, that are available. But we can only do it if we've got the ports that can accommodate those enormous turbines and then ship them out to sea, because lots of these turbines are offshore. At the moment, we just don't have the port capacity in this country to take advantage of those opportunities. Labour is setting out really exciting plans to make those investments welcomed by industry. And it's all part of our Green Prosperity Plan to cut energy bills for people, create good jobs and ensure energy independence for our country, as well as tackling climate change.
That must be, I mean, you'll be very pleased if that goes ahead and Labour is in government, but you must have been very disappointed when the party did have the U-turn on their previous £28 billion a year pledge. How frustrated were you by that?
Well, it's frustrating that the economic inheritance that we'll be left with if Labour is the government after the election is going to be so difficult. And that's why we made the decision that we did. But I think the important thing for your viewers, Kate, is that everything Labour does has got to be built on fiscal credibility. We know from the Liz Truss experience that if you don't have that fiscal credibility, people really feel it in their mortgages and in their daily lives and in their cost of living. So it's absolutely right that it's built on that fiscal credibility. And actually the plans that we've got, not just for investment in ports, but for GB Energy, a new publicly owned energy company, they're really big, exciting and transformative plans, crucially to lower energy bills. But they haven't got the funding
they were going to have, so you must be aware that a lot of people that liked that commitment will feel let down, and maybe you do too.
I don't feel let down. Look, it's less funding than it was, Kate, but if you look at the scale of the investment we're still talking about, in billions of pounds in GB Energy, the investment in our ports, in steel, in electric battery factories to get those good jobs of the future, to invest in warm homes, to insulate our homes and tackle fuel poverty and help people. Those are big and exciting plans, and actually they are pretty equal to the plans that lots of people talk about that President Biden in the US has done. When you look at the size of our economy and the size of our country, they're pretty much equivalent in scale, even after the scaling back to what he's done in the US, creating hundreds of thousands or millions of jobs there.
You've said that you can bring forward the government's commitment to have net zero emissions electricity. They say 2035, you say 2030. There are lots of experts who say even when you were going to spend £28 billion a year, the logistics of getting to that by 2030 was probably too hard. Is that a pledge, or is it actually a hope, an aspiration? Is it realistically going to take longer than 2030?
It's a clear pledge and an essential part of our mission, Ed. And the reason we've got to do it is because the cost of living crisis over the last couple of years, that what people have seen in their energy bills, has been caused by a reliance on imported gas. And we've got to get off that imported gas, and that's what clean power, clean renewable power, nuclear power offers. You're right, it's very stretching. Most of the investment that we need for it, though, comes from private investment, as you know. And the key to that is breaking down the barriers to planning and grid and supply chains, which is why the investment in the ports is important. So we are absolutely confident it's achievable. The body in charge of these issues, the energy system operator, also believes it's achievable. It's going to be hard, but if I'm the Secretary of State after the general election, it will be the clear North Star of what I'm setting out to achieve, and we believe it's absolutely achievable.
We mentioned in our introduction to you the ongoing allegations made against Angela Rayner yesterday, again in Prime Minister's questions by the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. It's being investigated by the police. She said that she will resign if there was any wrongdoing. You yourself, with your brother, went through a similar process of lots of allegations from the Conservatives, from the Daily Mail, when you were leader of the Labour Party, about inheritance tax, allegations which proved to be unfounded. What did you learn from that experience yourself with those allegations day by day about tax?
I think that politics is a rough business, and that if your opponents are desperate enough, they will throw anything at you. And I've got to say to you, Ed, you know, I think it is very striking and rather extraordinary that for the last 8 weeks, all the Conservative Party has seemed to want to talk about is Angela Rayner's living arrangements from more than a decade ago. Angela believes she complied with all the rules. I believe she complied with all the rules. The Labour Party believes she complied with all the rules. The police are going to do their investigation. I suppose my honest observation is, I think for people at home watching all this, they'll be scratching their heads a bit and thinking, well, this isn't about my household bills. This isn't about whether my son or daughter's going to get a good job in the future. This isn't about the state of our public services. Haven't the Conservative Party got anything else to talk about?
I know you've got to go. Just one other question. A change from when you were leader of the Labour Party. In recent months, we've had attacks or demonstrations at the home of both the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, and also the leader of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, from Just Stop Oil or Youth Demand, and people saying that Labour is letting the country down on climate change, going along with some oil exploration, not being tough enough on Gaza. I just wonder, what do you think about those campaigns, Just Stop Oil, targeting the homes of the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition? Do they help their cause, or would you tell them that they are damaging the cause that you are wanting to take forward to tackle climate change?
I think Just Stop Oil is a great propaganda weapon for the anti-net zero people, to be honest. I think they just put people off. I know they think they're doing the right thing, but they're not. And I think whoever it is, campaigning outside people's homes is totally unacceptable. And the reason for this is as follows, which is, you know, I'm a public figure. I've chosen to go into public life, just like, you know, you are a public figure, or you were a politician, Ed. But the people we are married to, our kids, they are not public figures in that way, and they should not be targeted in their homes. So I think it's completely outrageous, to be honest. And whether it's campaigning outside the Prime Minister's home or campaigning outside Keir Starmer's home, I think it's totally unacceptable. And
it's the same when Just Stop Oil block roads and block motorways. Do you feel in the same way that they are setting back the cause which you have championed for years? They're helping the anti-climate change? I completely do. I completely do. You know, look, the thing about that is that, and look, I believe in the right to peaceful protest in our country. I think it's incredibly important. But when Just Stop Oil did that, I think it was on the M25, you had people who were going to see their dying relatives that were blocked from doing so. That doesn't help anyone's cause. That doesn't help persuade people. So the thing I'd say to all of those people, some of whom are well-intentioned, is think about how to persuade people to come with you and be persuaded to your cause, not drive them away from your cause, which is what those kind of protests do.
Really good to speak to you this morning. Your jacket is a very bright spot on a dull morning, making us all smile. But good to talk to you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.